This week, continuing our series on the new Subarus, and by new I don't mean new models, I mean significant upgrades. So this week, it's the Subaru Forester Hybrid. On this metallic army green Forester, you'll notice under the Forester badge, it says E-Boxer. What does that mean? Well, it means this. In the back, where your spare would normally go, there's just this piece of polystyrene taking up vast amounts of space. They could kind of take this out and use it for extra storage, but they haven't, and there's just a towing hook, etc. in here. Because there's no spare tyre. Why? Because this is the battery. This is a lithium-ion battery for this Subaru Hybrid. And that's really the only clue that this car isn't a perfectly normal Forester. And there's two trim levels, unlike XV that's got just one trim level. And of course, those cars both have 5-year warranties and 12-month roadside assist. I'd like to see that roadside assist at also 5 years. The other thing is the battery has an 8-year warranty. And if when you take your car into a service, the car has told the technicians that the batteries are not functioning properly or below a certain amount of efficiency, and the industry standard seems to be around 70-odd%, they'll be replaced, which is just as well, because if you had to replace it yourself, they're over $7,600, and that's a lot of money. However, in most electric cars, including hybrids, the batteries will outlast the life of the car. Forester comes with keyless entry and locking. Now, the reason that's beeped is because the key's not in my pocket, it's in the car, and it won't lock if the car's got the key inside it. And just below here is a camera that looks forward and down, so you can see where this wheel is when you're parking. The back wheel, that's up to you. This is the same drivetrain that's in the XV Hybrid. But in the E-Boxer, the 110 kilowatts and 196 newton meters gets an extra 12.3 kilowatts and 66 newton meters from the electric engine. And this will save you about 19% on the urban cycle. So around town, this gets 19% better fuel consumption than its 2.5 litre brother. There's a few other things to note too. The normal 2.5 Forester has a 63 litre fuel tank, but the E-Boxer only has a 48 litre fuel tank. So some of the fuel tank is taken up by battery space, etc. I'm going to put my CarPlay on, and I've got to tell you, this USB port is very hard to get at. It's in this little cubby hole down here where I've got my keys. I had to kind of pull them out. To activate CarPlay, I'm just going to unlock my phone, plug it in, unlock my phone to use CarPlay, allow. You just have to follow the prompts basically. And now I can go to CarPlay by hitting the CarPlay button. And now I can control my audio and visual and messages and music by just using my voice. So I can say, "Hey Siri, take me home."
Just a tick. Getting directions to home.
Actually, it might not work. No, it did work. I've only got one bar, and that's the other thing. This car doesn't have inbuilt navigation. So I've got to rely on the Apple Maps. So while that's a great idea in theory, I can foresee a time when that could be a problem. This car has X mode, which I like and comes in extremely handy. I'm not going to use it just to get off this little plateau, but it's also got auto vehicle hold, so you put that on and after you take your foot off the brake in traffic, it just stays there. There's the electric parking brake, and this is the other thing too. Press the view button And you'll notice that you get a front view of the car. And this is the other thing too. I'm just going to register here. It's asked me to register my face in the user driver system. And I'm going to register it in 1, set, please face forward until you hear the beep. Now that beep means that Forester has registered my face in this car, and when I get into the car, it's going to select my profile and welcome me. So now when I get into the car, it'll come up with "Hello Alan," because there's a camera just here that scans my face. Alrighty, let's go down this quite steep little embankment. Whoa, there we go, and we're off. Now the first thing you notice is that on this narrow country road, now that we're doing this speed limit, the ride is sensational. This bitumen is not particularly well kept, but the ride is just beautiful. The acceleration isn't appreciably different to the normal 2.5 litre Boxer. Now we can really ramp it up. You can hear that engine revving. And now we're at 100, so there was a bit of a kerfuffle, and normally you can hear gear changes. The CVT at speed simulates the gear ratios of normal automatic gearboxes, but I couldn't actually hear it that time. As well, there's paddles at the steering wheel, so that means if you want to select those ratios yourself, you can. We've arrived in the historic town of Picton. So now at city speeds, well, city-ish, you notice that Forester's transformed into kind of like a little SUV limo. It's so quiet and smooth and gentle and calm. Now we're at 80, and this doesn't feel any different to when it was at 60. We've driven a couple of 100 kilometers today. So that's the important thing that I want to stress about hybrids, is that you can drive as far as the petrol engine will allow you. Then you go into a petrol station and fill it full of dinosaur. And once you've filled it full of dinosaur, you can drive another 400, 500, 600 kilometers, however far. At the moment we're averaging, let me see, 7.4 litres per 100 kilometres, and that's a combination of city and country driving. Every time I go down a hill, the battery charges. Every time I coast, the battery charges. And that's the other important thing about hybrids, is that it captures the energy that you would waste otherwise in the form of heat. When you apply your brakes, it converts that kinetic energy to heat. And you've wasted a bit of dinosaur getting to that speed, then slowing down again. The hybrid will capture that for you to use later on. And it uses it in acceleration, in low level, slow parking speeds. You'll often hear the little kind of faint noise. It's like a little piercing whine. And no, it's not a plane full of POMs. Sorry, British viewers. It's, in fact, the warning system of the car. The other thing about Forester is that it's always watching you. The camera in front knows when your eyes aren't on the road. And just then on the 4.2-inch screen, I got a warning saying keep my eyes on the road. Now we're going into some beautiful, graceful, sweeping, gentle bends on a road that's really crappy. Let's see how it goes. So I'm doing the speed limit, and we're going downhill, and the car's charging itself. You're not conscious of when the motor switches on and off, and you're not conscious of when the electric engine switches on and off. And if you didn't know this graphic was there, you wouldn't know what was driving what wheels. Around this graceful, sweeping left-hand bend. No shift, no worries. Oh, this is lovely. Now that we are at highway speeds, there's just a little hint of wind noise. Other than that, it's pretty quiet. The ride's still incredibly smooth. Now let's activate the cruise control, you'll notice up here on this top panel, the eyesight readout has come up. That takes precedence over the battery use. And if I flick the button down, we're now set at 110. There's two things you'll notice. One, the eyesight thing now has little beams coming out of the top of the windscreen, which means that it's looking in front of me. You may or may not be able to pick this up on the film, I'm not sure, but in front of me there's, on the windscreen, a little green light, a little green LED, and that means that the eyesight has picked up a car in front. Also, there's a car on the little readout between the driver's dials. The steering is gently guiding me within the lanes, and the car is keeping the speed at 110 and watching the car in front. While we're on the subject of those LEDs that reflect up onto the windscreen, so it's sort of like a very primitive heads-up display, there's orange ones that show me if I'm wandering out of the lane, and there's red ones that flash up if it thinks that a collision is imminent. The other thing we've got is blind spot monitoring. Subaru uses a little light outside on the mirror to flash either side depending on which side the hazard's on, and we're being kept cool by twin zone climate control. I've got it synced at the moment and in manual mode so that I can turn the temperature down and the fan down. One thing I have noticed about the sound system, the sound quality, although it's okay, it's not what I would call brilliant. There's the quality of the sound, like the basses are there, but it's not particularly deep. I would feel the need to put better speakers in. But the interior trim is generally great quality. All the design elements are there. I like the asymmetric dash, I like the sweeping curves, I like the surfacing. Most of all, I like the fact that you could easily do a very long trip in Forester and feel very comfortable at the end. I like these Subaru e-boxes a lot. I didn't expect to. I expected to be a little bit disappointed, but I think it's a great step, this mild hybrid, from a pure petrol engine to a pure EV. There's plenty of range, there's plenty of get up and go, and the CVT doesn't disgrace itself either. There's still all-wheel drive, there's still X mode. This thing is as capable off-road as any other Forester. And if you want to go too far off-road, you can always put a spare tyre on the roof rack. But at the end of the film, as always, if you've liked this video, please hit like, please leave a comment, and you can subscribe just by hitting the little round gay cowboy symbol just there.